Hello, and
Yo.
not welcome back to
No, not
Untitled-2
welcome.
podcast,
We're not doing the intro thing.
So yeah, as promised, we're going to talk about
Dark
Tourist on Netflix. It's a really good show. Hopefully, since the last episode, if you are actually following along, don't think many people do at this stage. But if you were and you took our advice and went and watched Dark Tourist, then bully for you.
Also, if you don't follow along and you just decide to pick up this episode, don't feel bad because I don't follow along either. And I'm in the show.
Yeah, I used to listen to it every episode we did, but I don't really anymore have the time for that.
So did I, but I kept getting really confused because I'd be listening to us both talk and then I'll turn to say something to you and I'm like, Connor's not here.
Yeah, I do that all the time. So yeah, if you haven't seen Dark Tourist on Netflix, I don't imagine listening to us talking about it will ruin the experience in any way. I think we could give you a play-by-play of the whole thing and you could still go and watch it and enjoy the shit out of it.
It's one thing having someone tell you about it, it's an absolutely different thing going to witness it yourself. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it and you're not sure, you've got some reservations, listen to us talk about it and you will want to go.
The way I see it is someone can tell you just how beautiful like the Taj Mahal is or the pyramids of Egypt over and over again in as many words as they possibly can.
With as many pictures as possibly can.
Yeah, but it's another thing actually visiting them and seeing them in person.
Yeah, exactly. You just get the scale, don't you? You get the true perspective of the human eye.
And obviously the feeling, the atmosphere. Yeah. And Dark Tourist is definitely a wonder of the world that you should definitely go see.
It's so good, man. I started watching it while I was working from home. Had it on in the background. And I just got so hooked. And the same day I finished it. It's only, 8 episodes?
Yeah.
But every single one of them has so much good shit.
Yeah, he goes to
There's one of them which is a bit lame, which we'll talk about, but I mean, it's still got some bits.
In each episode, he goes to like 3 different locations at least.
The 40 minutes each episode, but he goes to 3 different places. So it's like 3 bite-sized little mini-sodes inside an episode, so that's really cool. He's got so much charm as well. He's such a good presenter. He's called David. He's from New Zealand. The New Zealand accent adds so much to it. He's got perfect comedic timing when it comes to like talking to other people, and like the editing's really good as well. Like the way they'll be talking about something and then it'll cut to something happening.
Plus, he's got the best, most uncomfortable face I've ever seen on a human ever.
Yeah.
He's in a situation, his face is just like, oh man, that guy's feeling it.
Yeah.
But I really like it because I do like that sort of stuff. I do like the darker sides of life, the weird stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's kind of surreal. Like you'll watch it and it'll put you in a sort of mood. And then you'll come back to normal life and you'll be like, wow, this is shit.
And like, because I do like that stuff anyway, quite a few places he went to I already knew about. Yeah. Because I'd already done my research on it.
The Japanese episode was all just places you expected him to go.
I don't know if that's just because I was a massive weeaboo in my teenage years, but I know quite a bit about Japan anyway.
Yeah. So going back to what you were saying about his uncomfortable face, you get to see it in the first like 5 minutes of the very first episode. So in the first episode, he goes to Colombia. Yeah. It's a little town called. It's spelt Medellin, but they pronounce it like Medellin or something.
Yeah, that's the language like that's weird because like in Brazil, the capital city is how we would pronounce it, Sao Paulo, but it's there's an M. They pronounce it São Paulo.
Okay,
which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird. So in this first episode, he goes to that town because it was made famous by Pablo Escobar. Anybody who doesn't know about him naturally will know of him from the show Narcos, which got quite popular. Yeah, I started watching it just on a whim a while ago, and I never finished watching it.
Like to add to that, whoever doesn't know about fucking Pabs is. What are you doing?
He's such a huge guy. He's done so many things. Did
you ever hear about that? I don't know if it's true, but like I think it was Pablo Escobar was spending millions and millions of dollars a year on rubber bands alone, just so he can rubber band up his money.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so he takes this tour, which is like a Pablo Escobar tour, and basically your taxi driver is a Pablo lookalike.
Yeah.
And he's got this like huge like 90s mobile phone.
Yeah.
And he's just talking shit about you in Colombian.
Yeah, saying stuff like, I'll kill his grandma, and if his grandma's already dead, I'll dig her up and kill her again.
Yeah.
I'll kill his dog, and if he doesn't have a dog, I'll buy him a dog, wait for him to love it, and then I'll kill it in front of him.
Yeah.
Shit like that. And he's sat in the really small taxi,
looking so uncomfortable,
just next to him in the passenger seat, because he's like, what, 6'2"?
Yeah.
So he's quite a big guy.
Yeah, he's all like curled up.
He's scrawny though, like Louis. He looks like a New Zealand Louis.
He looks a lot like Louis Theroux, but I'll probably talk about this a bit later if we've got some time left, but I started watching Louis Theroux documentaries afterwards because I wanted more.
Yeah.
And Louis Theroux has got nothing on this guy.
No, this guy's awesome.
He's just nowhere near as cool.
But yeah, so he's in this little taxi cab thing in the passenger seat, like squished in and all really uncomfortable with both like being squished in and the guy screaming into to nobody in an old phone that's not even on.
Yeah. So the really interesting thing about this episode, this town, is that everybody in the world knows Pablo Escobar as a villain.
Yeah.
He killed hundreds on thousands of people just to, get what he wanted. And this town was built by him, basically. Yeah. It's a shanty-ass looking ghetto-ass town.
Yeah.
But everything's bricks. It's not like corrugated metal sheets or whatever.
No, there was still a lot of corrugated metal sheets, but that was usually just for the roofing.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they'd placed bricks on top so it don't blow off and that.
Yeah. But he'd invested money in this town and making that town's lives great. So they'll be driving around the town and you'll see these huge painted murals and fucking monuments to Pablo Escobar.
Because like he was a good dude, just his business wasn't a good business.
Yeah. So he really cared about the people in that town unless they got in his way, and then he'd get rid of them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he had his own personal like bodyguard / hitman guy.
Popeye.
Yeah,
Popeye. Or Popeye, as we uncultured folks call him. He's a YouTuber now.
He's a YouTuber now.
Apparently a famous YouTuber, but I never heard of him.
No, neither have I. And he's trying to make his own director / actor or something.
Yeah, so he tells the world that he's changed and he understands everything he did was wrong and everything, but he's so into it.
Yeah, like
he's so like he'll act like he's remorseful about what he's done, but then he'll laugh about it. And
yeah, you could tell that he doesn't regret anything he did.
And David's like trying to get it to sink into his head, like what a bad person he is, and he's like, "You killed your girlfriend," and he's like, "Yeah, I did."
Yeah,
he's like,
man.
That's terrible.
Innit? I like that as well. I like how he wasn't afraid to just tell someone when they're an asshole, when they're doing something bad.
Yeah.
So like with that guy, he was all like, "Yeah, but you killed your girlfriend," which is pretty despicable, right? And that guy was just all like, "Yeah, man, yeah."
Yeah. So he also goes to Mexico and tries to cross. Is that one when he tries to cross the border from Mexico?
Yeah. Well, first he goes to Mexico because
there's a cult that worships
Santa Muerte.
Yeah, Santa Muerte.
Which is really cool. I already knew about Santa Muerte anyway.
Yeah, it's also in. You may remember in Breaking Bad, there was those two hitmen who would crawl across the ground towards this
that's
statue.
Of the Santa Muerte.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't actually have to army crawl across the ground, but on your knees is usually the way people do it. They'll shuffle down the street, fucking shattering their knee bones.
Yeah, you just crawl to the nearest shrine from your house.
And then they'd bring offerings for the shrine.
Yeah, what
some
I didn't
alcohol,
know
bit
about
of Mary Jane.
Yeah. What I didn't know about Santa Muerte is that her favourite things in life are alcohol and marijuana.
Yeah.
And I think I might have found my new religion.
No, there was the woman that started the religion off, so basically she just had this statue of Santa Muerte.
She was a very typical Mexican grandmother or something.
Yeah, she was such a lovely old lady.
Invite you around because she'd baked one too many cakes. And it's all like, Grandma, how does that happen? You just wanted to come around.
So one day she just put the statue outside and people started worshipping it. and it started this like cult following, which grew massively. And it's crazy as well because there are normal religions there. Well, not quite normal. No religion's really that normal, but it's standard religions. And there's this woman who worships Santa Muerte. She's got a tattoo of Santa Muerte on her arm. And she goes there with her son, I think, because she thinks her son's possessed.
No, she goes to a typical Catholic church.
Yeah, and she wants to get her son exorcised because the devil is in him.
He fucks off.
And then the priestess sees that she's got a Santa Muerte tattoo, and she thinks, oh, the devil's inside you. She fucking grabs her, tackles her to the ground, and just gets her fist and rams it just under her ribs.
It was more surreal than that, because she was just sat there, mind her own business in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
Who she tried taking her grandson to, but he was like, nah, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that meme where it's all like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like that. And so she goes inside anyway, because she's dedicated, I suppose. Mm-hmm. With just a Santa Muerte tattoo on her arm. And then the priest gets told that she's there with a Santa Muerte tattoo, and he goes and starts talking to her. And then while he's talking to her, all these little disciples just surround her.
Yeah.
And she's like trapped. And then he's all like, it's turned to David, and he's all like, we think she's possessed with a demon or something. And for 2 hours, they just tackle her to the ground, and they've got the fist under the ribcage,
just digging the knuckles,
twisting and pushing into it, and she's like on the floor going, ah!
She's proper screaming, and they're like, oh, that's a sign that it's working.
Yeah, and it's like all the time that you physically abuse that person.
It's unbelievable. It's so insane.
Yeah. And he's just that for the whole 2 hours. He's just there, like just by there's a stage or something in there, where like the soapbox thing where the guy gets up and preaches, and he's just stood by that, and he's just got his like hand in his mouth, and he's chewing his nails, and he's just fucking uncomfortable. You're like, oh man,
2 hours. That guy puts up with some shit as well.
Yeah.
He'll stay there for a long time, as long as it takes.
And then he goes to try and get across the border.
Yeah. So he doesn't actually do it. There's this like experience for people to understand how hard it is to cross the border, and how dangerous it is, and that you should not do it.
It's really funny as well, because he goes to the actual border, which is like just a really shitty fence that's half finished.
Yeah, it's not even
and
finished.
He's all like, I find it really weird that Trump said he wants to build a wall when there already is one, even though it's half finished. But if we do a play-by-play of each episode, we're not going to get get to the end of this. But
there's a funny bit where somebody hid drugs in his bag, and then they have this staged bit where some thugs come and raid them, and they find the drugs and they take the drugs. And then he dobs in the tour guide. He's like, it was him that hit drugs. and then they shot a blank at him and killed him. And he's like, why'd you do that, man?
Yeah.
And everybody else is just really uncomfortable. Like, why?
My favourite part of that was the British woman who had a £3,000 engagement ring or something stolen. And I just messaged you like, is she going to get that back?
Yeah, you don't see her get it back, but
no.
It's all faked, so presumably.
And in the Japan episode, he goes to I forgot what it's called. The Daiichi. It was a Daiichi nuclear plant. I think it was called.
That exploded.
I forgot what prefecture it was. But that exploded. They go there, and they get turned around quite a lot there, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They didn't have the right permits.
Yeah.
But they managed to sneak past somewhere, and they were just traveling down this road, and everyone's got the Geiger counters out.
Yeah.
And it just goes up to 7.19 or something.
Amazing tour guide. He's the chillest guy. He's just called Yo. Like, fucking hell. What a guy. And he says, as soon as it's above 0.2, it's something you want to be worried about.
0.25, I think he said.
Yeah, and then they get to like 4, and they're like, this is already way too high, we don't want to stick around.
Yeah.
It gets to 6, and one of the girls there is like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm really worried. Why is the tour guide not worried? He's just smiling away, happiest guy on the planet. And then it gets to 7, and then there's just unanimous agreement on the tour bus. I'm not staying here.
7.19
But I was talking to you about this. How can you just gladly go somewhere that's even the smallest bit radiated? Because you won't know. It's like working with asbestos. You could work with asbestos for 3 years, retire, 10 years later, oh fuck, asbestos is killing me.
There's that mining town in Russia that mine asbestos, and the government has paid scientists, doctors, and all sorts of officials to consistently lie to the townspeople that asbestos is not bad for your health. And so people are down in the mines with no protective equipment, nothing to protect the skin, nothing for the lungs or all that shit. And you know what the mining town is. Everyone who lives in that town is related to the mine somehow, whether they work there, have a family or friend that works there, or they just live close by. So the whole fucking town has got way too much asbestos in the air that they're breathing.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks it's fine.
But yeah, like radiation is like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not gonna. Obviously, radiation is gonna give you cancer, but when?
Innit? Like I'm not scared of anything, but when it comes to radiation, I will shit bricks, man.
Yeah,
literally.
I'm not going near radiation.
So,
mate. Unbelievable.
I'd do it, but I would be so uncomfortable the
Yeah.
entire time. I'd be freaking out.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't.
I totally would. Because like all it means is when you go to a place like that, with 7.19, you probably won't get your whole year's worth of radiation, soaked up too fast. You probably have to stay there for a few hours and then it'd happen. And so my thinking is you can go there if you don't spend too long there. You've still got plenty of allotted radiation to use up throughout the year. But if you went to a fucking place like Chernobyl and went close to the reactor and you used up your whole year within your whole fucking year's allowance in like 20 seconds, I'd be like shitting myself for the entire year.
Yeah. Oh my god! Still outside.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Because like there's a safe limit of the amount of radiation you can soak up.
Mm-hmm.
And that just fucking baffles my mind, mate.
I'd at least want to know what my limit is, so I could get just like 10% of it, and I'd be like, all right.
Yeah, I forgot how many rads per year everyone soaks up. But like people who fly on planes to other countries regularly for business trips and stuff like that, they get more than everyone else because they're flying closer to the sun. And truck drivers get more on one side and that.
Yeah, and they get a scaly ass skin on one side of the face.
But yeah, so and then in Japan he goes to Battleship Island, which I already knew
Oh
about.
my god. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How inconsiderate. I don't care what they're doing out there. They should know.
They got Battleship Island, which is just it was a mining island town thing off the coast of Japan.
Yeah.
And once the mine dried up or it became unstable, something like that, everyone just left within a week.
Yeah, it was crazy.
in
It
the
was like the
70s.
first proper apartment complex in Japan.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they had everything. They had a pool, a school, and anything you could want. And he met two guys that used to live there, and they were like, as soon as we were told, the resources in the mine are getting low, people left within a week.
Yeah, yeah.
Within a week, it was empty.
Well, that's just the Japanese culture, isn't it? They're super efficient in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew about that anyway because I've obviously seen other documentaries, and one of my favourite documentary series ever.
I knew you were going to say.
Life Life After People, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They visit there quite often and that. And then where does he go after that in Japan?
He goes somewhere else, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Suicide Forest, obviously.
Oh yeah, Suicide Forest.
I like how he goes there and he meets that set of fucking hick weebs just stood in the car park.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is my first time out of Ontario.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty funny because the whole time I was like expecting just to see some dickhead in a luminous green hat walking around dabbing on trees and stuff.
Yeah. Well, one of the people he went with was called Jake.
Yeah.
And you didn't they showed like a preview at the start of the episode, and it just showed that he was talking to somebody called Jake, but you couldn't see him. And I was like, no. He has not gone to make up for his brother's mistake, surely. But no, it was just some random guy.
And he meets a woman there, doesn't she? Isn't there who she tried killing
she thinks
herself.
there's spirits around her and strangling her, and she's got your massaging him off her back and shit.
Yeah. And she's walking through and she starts like slapping back of her neck because it's in pain. And I was like, what? Has she got a tick or something like that?
It's unbelievable.
And then it turns out, no, I'm too logical. She was getting possessed.
Obviously, I mean, there are myths about things like that in Japan. We've seen it in like Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda has similar. The Kokiri? Is that what they're called?
Maybe.
Or Kokiri's a village. Well, the little things with leafy masks. There've been quite a few games, not just Breath of the Wild.
Koroks.
Yeah, Koroks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's based on, tales of spirits in Japan.
Yeah.
So obviously that's come from somewhere. Somebody's gone, ooh, there's little things on my back, and then everybody else who feels a similar sensation is like, fuck, they've got me.
Japan's really fucked up with their spiritual stuff, innit? When they've got like ghosts and spirits, they're always super creepy and devastating. But yeah, where does he go after that? Next best place?
Well, the next episode is the United States. I think it's the weakest episode. There's nothing really exciting about it.
Is that the one with the Dharma?
Yeah, so there's the Jeffrey Dahmer tourist industry, and there's all these women that are like, oh, I just feel like I could change him. But he's gay and he's a cannibal.
Yeah, and he asks one of them, like, how would you change him? And she's like, oh, with cuddles. And I'm like, oh, shut up. Shut up.
Fucking insane, mate.
Women like that is the only reason 50 Shades of Grey sold so well.
They go to New Orleans. There's a cult of vampires.
Yeah.
There's an insane bit where it goes to like a vampire wedding. So this man and woman getting married. And they have their donor. So it's just a sort of standard couple. The woman looks more standard. The guy looks like he's trying to spend 80% of his life looking like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, but when he was getting married to her, he looked more like he'd walked off the set of Lord of the Rings. He looked like an elf or something.
Yeah, it was a bit strange. But then they had this like fucking porn star sat with them with massive breasts, just heaving breasts, just hanging out of her top. And she was their blood donor. So basically they had threesomes with her where they sucked her blood. They would bite her neck and shit. It was very weird. It was really surreal. But there was also this guy that set up shop in New Orleans creating vampire.
Yeah, the Fangsmith.
The Fangsmith. Interesting story about how he came up with that name. He said he had a vision of a silhouetted blacksmith, and he was thinking, blacksmith, Fangsmith.
Yeah. When really, he was just like, I need a name for my new profession.
I thought he was going to say like author fangtrist or something like that.
Yeah. I knew about that guy anyway as well because I've watched, I think it was a Vice, like a 30-minute Vice documentary about vampires. Mm-hmm. But in this one, they were following this little coven around, and they weren't allowed to talk about drinking real blood and stuff. And whenever one of the new members tried, not even talking about it, but commenting on it, and you could see they were going to comment in a way that wouldn't give anything away. Some guy would just swoop out of the shadows, put his hand on the shoulder, and he'd be all like, "Can't talk about that" and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really weird. But yeah, I saw the Fangsmith in there as well, so I already knew him.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck.
Oh, I see.
What a bunch of...
There was a bit where David asked him, "Oh, is it like a clique, you know, like being a goth or a emo or whatever?"
Yeah.
And he got really offended by that.
Yeah, and he was like, "Is it a sexual thing as well?" And they're all like, "No, not really." I'm like, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
Look at the girl that sat with you. Her tits are hanging out.
And they went to see that family of vampires as well. And there was one of them who was like, "Oh, I'm just about to use my roommate as my donor for the first time. He's a virgin."
Yeah.
A virgin donor.
Oh, that guy was such a bit of fuck. He was like, because he was like anemic or something like that? Like he was very low on vitamin B, was it or something? Mm-hmm. On iron and whatever.
And he was like, "Oh, I've tried medication and being told what to eat." And...
But the only thing that works in his blood. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the guy like in the threshold of the house, in all the doors and that. He was spitting.
Fuck, that is really pissing me off now.
He was spitting alcohol out and blowing this weird incense stick thing, and then that David guy was in the fucking. The audio tracker, he was all like, so and so's trying to ward off spirits, but I don't think it's a vampire thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really fucked up episode.
When he was feeding on his virgin donor and he put like anesthetic wash on his back,
yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, you're gonna feel a little sting." Gets a scalpel and starts shanking him in back. Like what?
Yeah.
And then he just sucks on this like sweaty, spotty ass bit of fucking.
And and he asked him like why he does it and stuff, and he's all like, "Well, because I'm a vampire." I'm like, "No, you're not."
Yeah. And the other thing that they talk about in that episode, which is boring as fuck, is the JFK assassination and tours around that. There's one guy who talks for 6 hours about his personal conspiracies, his personal truth.
Calls himself a historian.
And then there's another guy who is like complete opposite.
Does a 15-minute
He tells the truth, but he blows it up, and they're going around on fucking golf car limousines, and they've got someone dressed as JFK's wife who just looks sad as shit the whole time. Really uncomfortable. Fucking hell.
Yeah, they're just blasting music out in these little buggy things. And so you got one where this guy just bores you to death for 6 hours straight, and another guy who just entertains you for 15 minutes, and then you're on your way.
Yeah.
And then where do they go after that? Where does he go?
Oh yeah, the next episode, he goes to Oh, the stands.
Oh yeah.
So he goes to the most nuked place on Earth.
In Kazakhstan, is it?
Atomic Lake.
Yeah, near the border to
I don't think
Russia,
that's Kazakhstan. I think Kazakhstan is the rocket launch.
Right.
So he goes to this rocket launch and he's like, oh, it's a 50-year-old rocket and people have died before going to space, so it's dark tourism. But no, there's nothing dark about it. No, it was pretty dope. You just wanted to see a rocket launch.
That was dope. I'm pretty sure the nuclear site's close to the Russian border, though, isn't it? Because
well, they had that Russian guy, didn't they?
Where Kazakhstan is. Anyway, they go there, and there's a British guy with him, isn't there?
I really want to know what's going on outside.
Will you just leave it?
But I want to kill him.
The British guy, and he's a little bit of a dark tourist himself, and he goes. He goes to the testing site thing. Yeah, and he's just walking around with his Geiger counter.
He's like 14. Just over here, 14.
Shouting out numbers, and he's all like, "Oh, 14. It stops here. It won't go any higher."
Do you want it to go higher?
And he's like, "Oh, it won't go any higher. I'll just come back."
And the tour guide was like, there's not much risk of radiation, but you do want to make sure you don't breathe anything in.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of these tour guides weren't being very honest. Yeah. Like they've been told by some official, like, don't.
Well, that guy definitely, because they kept asking him questions and he kept sort of dodging.
Russia's fucked.
The true answer.
Because he was asking about, like, babies being born with, malformed limbs and shit like that. And he was all like, no, not to my knowledge. I've never heard of that happening.
Yeah.
And then, like, in the next scene, they get taken to a fucking hospital where they've got loads of children there.
They're not deformed, though. I expected, like, multiple arms and shit.
No, they were. There was that one kid who looked like he'd gone into Photoshop and just warped his head and stretched it up.
I mustn't have seen that. I was working when I was watching.
The kids there were definitely malformed from radiation and that. And the guy was just telling him how it is and that. And then, we already did the fucking rocket launch one. But then he goes to Turkmenistan.
Yeah, which one's that? Remind me.
The Turkmenistan, it's like Myanmar, where it's like he had to get. Yeah, the only reason he could get there is because they were having this really like closed off world championship.
Oh yeah,
like Olympic Games thing that only their country and maybe another country fucking
so the
participates in.
The town was, I think it's maybe the capital. It was built by, well, not physically, but funded by the dictatorship.
Yeah,
and he spent billions on this huge town. This is just empty.
It's an empty
completely
town,
empty,
and it's loads of Guinness World Records in it.
Yeah,
the biggest indoor Ferris wheel.
Yeah, which is just a Ferris wheel with like something built around it, like a cage around it.
Largest number of buildings with marble finishing.
Yeah, they're all white marble buildings. Largest structure shaped like a star.
yeah, stuff like that. But it goes there under the pretense that he's a
sports journalist, and no other sports journalist went to the event.
There's this guy with him, Aziz, was it?
Aziz, what a dude!
He wanted to go see the Devil's Pit, which is a big, massive mining pit that the Russians dug.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of oil there, and to get rid of the oil, usually they just set it alight and wait for it to burn out.
But it's been burning for 40 years.
But 40 years later, it's still on fire. It's just a big pit just burning.
And Aziz just happened to have this entire kit of metal rods and a frying pan that he just took with him just in case they got the chance to go Devil's Pit. And he built this super long pan handle, basically, so that he could fucking lower the pan.
Yeah. It was,
cook some eggs in the Devil's Pit and then bring it back up.
Aziz's childhood dream to cook something in the Devil's Pit. So he's got all these rods that you have to connect together and stuff. And they're in the hotel room, and he's got David trying to see if he can work it. Yeah. Like they're practicing for it, and they're gonna go see it. But the next day when they're gonna go, David's like gets told he can't leave the city, and he has to get chaperoned around while they give him a tour. And that's when you learn about all the Guinness World Records and stuff. And then he cuts his hand open in the hotel room. They take him to hospital, pump him full of ketamine, and just turf him back out.
Yeah.
And then right at the end of the episode, they show the clip. Aziz managed to fucking escape the city.
He snuck out and did it.
And he fucking cooked something in the fucking pit. And he was like, he filmed it and sent it to him and that. Aziz, what a dude.
He is totally such a guy.
We've just come up on 30 minutes, so quick fire. What's the best episodes?
Well, I think the fucking worst one by far is in the last one. They go back to the USA. They do some stuff about Charles Manson.
Yeah.
They look into doomsday preppers.
Yeah,
but there's this guy who runs this thing called McCamey Manor, and you might have heard of it before. But it's just this ex-army guy who's found a loophole, found a way that he can torture people for money. And so
they don't pay him, do they?
Yeah, you have to pay for it.
I thought he was saying he did it for free.
That's crazy. That's insane.
I'm sure he said he did it for
Well,
free.
you get this like 4-hour initiation thing, and you've got to sign a million forms. And
he was talking about he did it for free. The only money he gets is his pension, $800 a month.
No, I'm pretty sure he said that because David was like, "Is this the only thing you do then to make money?" And he was like, "Yeah, my only other income is my pension, which is $800 a month."
I feel like he said he did it for free, but whatever.
All right, well, yeah.
The guy clearly gets off on torturing people.
He's proper unhinged. He's so crazy. And, like, I mean, we've given you a good rundown on the first 4 episodes. There's another 4 for you to check out, and they're really good. There's one where he tries to break into a ghost town in Cyprus. There's one where there's a fucking museum in London that's just full of loads of... This guy who runs it is insane, and he's like...
Is it in London? It's a small, like, village somewhere.
Oh, well. He's a strange guy, and he's, like, got loads of murder artifacts, questionably acquired them. He knows Bronson personally, and he's like talks to me on the phone. So he's got loads of Bronson's drawings.
You can tell Charlie Bronson's been in prison for the last 40 odd years because he is so out of time. It's like they had a phone call and they put him on speaker, and the first thing he says to someone is like, "Hello, me old China." And it's like, oh man, no one said that for years.
There's one. He goes to Indonesia. This city, this village where they dig up the dead on their birthday every year, clean them, put them in new wraps, bury them again.
That whole episode was mental.
There's this hilarious bit where one of the bodies has glasses, still has his glasses on, and David's like, "Oh yeah, he needs his glasses.
Yeah,
he's got to see."
The body was called Yusuf. He died 2 years ago, but in their culture, they believe that when you die, you're not dead yet. It's like a long 2-year process, and then you finally die. So they've had him in this fucking room, wrapped up in blankets with his glasses on, for 2 years. That room must have stunk. And David were told he had to bring snacks.
Yeah.
And so he was just emptying his bag like, "There's some biscuits here," and everyone's like, "Oh, biscuits, yeah, woo."
Yeah.
And you could just tell the only reason they wanted him to bring snacks is because they was poor as shit.
Yeah. But yeah, David's like, oh, he's got his glasses on still. He needs them to see. And then the camera does this close-up shot of him wearing glasses.
Fucking eyeballs.
His fucking eyes have disintegrated. There's just this like fucking yellow goo where they used to be.
But yeah, then once after the 2 years is up, that's when they're finally dead, and they wrap them up in a million blankets, put them in the crypt, and then I don't know if it's every year, but every now and again they'll have a cleansing ritual where they'll dig up all these bodies again. Mm-hmm. Not really digging up because I don't think they actually put them in the ground.
Yeah, they just open the coffin.
They just
clean them up, wrap them up again.
Take them all out, they'll clean them up. What fucked me up, right, is it's common knowledge that disease spreads through decay.
Yeah.
Right? And they unwrap the fucking body, and some guy will just go in, no gloves on, just pick the body up, and the body's obviously stiff as a fucking board, and he's just picking it up and all that, and everyone's putting money in their arms and shit, and I'm like,
yeah,
fuck me, use that money, get out of that village, welcome to the real world.
Yeah. After in that episode, they also go to Myanmar, which we talked about a little bit. It's
Myanmar is like North Korea, if anyone's interested.
It's another like town that's sort of run like a dictatorship, but it's run by military generals. But then they're like, oh, we'll give you diplomacy, but then everything has to go by a board, and 51% of the board is those generals, so they still make all the decisions. Nothing flies if the generals don't agree on it. So,
but they've got like a highway which is
12 lanes.
No, 20 lanes.
Oh yeah, 20 lanes. Oh man.
And as soon as I saw it, I was all like, that's during wartime, so planes can land and stuff.
Yeah, and then they said that there's a myth going around that that's what it's for.
Yeah.
And then after that episode, they go to Africa. There's a lot of shit about voodoo.
Good episode.
Insane voodoo rituals where they just run around slashing their arms up. All the people who've been there the longest, their arms are covered in scars.
Yeah. And he goes to Alexandria, which is a township. It's like a shanty town thing.
Yeah.
A favela. And
there's a religion there called white separatism.
well, no, that's not in the township. That's in the it's in Johannesburg.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not in a township in Johannesburg. It's in the higher end area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he goes to Alexandria and he has a fucking whale of a time. He loves it. You know, everyone's happy. They're dancing.
But everyone's like, "Oh, be careful! It's dangerous. You'll die."
Yeah.
And shit.
And then he goes and meets these fucking
White separatists. So they have a religion, and like all religions, they tell of end times. You know, apocalypse or whatever. Their apocalypse is black people rising up and killing all the whites. So every year they have like a fire drill type situation where they prepare for that happening, and they like role play that situation with like black people try to kill them and stuff. It's insane. These people are so unhinged. How do you live like that though? I feel so sorry for them.
I don't.
Like barbed wire around the houses and like
fuck 'em, man.
Constant terror that whenever somebody's skin's slightly darker than yours, you're gonna die.
The only reason,
get some perspective. Jesus.
They honestly think that black people aren't human. They're less than themselves. So fuck 'em, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I don't.
I tell you what I did feel bad about though, right? When they did that convoy drill, and the convoy stops for like the second time, and you're like, oh, what's gone now? They're facing in the wrong way again, or what? And this black guy's just walking down. You're like, oh shit, dude, run! They've got guns. They're white and they hate you.
And they're all like gearing up, like, oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna try and rob us? And he's just like this poor old man, like his clothes are all tattered, and he's
just walking.
Walking down the road.
Yeah, all the white.
The whole convoy stopped because one black guy walked past. This is how crazy these people
are. The white
are.
separatists are all on edge, like fucking. You can see him just shaking, like, oh no, what's happening? What's happening? And David's just sat there with a bird cage on his lap, just like, yep, just a black guy. You know, I've seen him before.
It's really crazy. So, if you haven't seen it, you still need to check it out, even though we've talked your ear off about it.
There are some brilliant parts, man.
We really loved this show, so forgive us for spending a whole episode talking about it, but it was like, it's been a long time I've watched the show and it hit me like that. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then obviously I try to watch Louis Theroux afterwards. There's some cool stuff, like he talks about Westboro Baptist Church, and he does an episode about the skinheads in America who are basically just Nazis.
Yeah, but I feel like this David guy, I don't know his last name, David McNew Zealand. He's just really, it's more enjoyable. Is more charismatic, I imagine.
Yeah,
I think. So yeah, Dark Tourist is good, especially if you do like the weirder side of life, because there's a lot of weird stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, give it a watch, man.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate that, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at UT2cast and Instagram Untitled-2 podcast, and we'll see you next week. I'm going to go postal, kill those motherfuckers outside and making so much noise.